When has being nice backfired completely? This girl who used to work with me asked me for a ride home after work. Me being the nice person I am, I'm like, yeah, of course, no problem, it's 15 minutes in the opposite direction of my way home from work, but it's fine, I'm doing someone a favor. She then tells me, hey, you can drop me off right at this corner coming up, I can really walk the rest of the way, so I'm like, are you sure? Sure. It's no problem to drive you all the way home. She proceeds to tell me no, so I let her get out. Maybe a week later I find out that she was telling everybody how I kicked her out of my car. Yeah, never gave that chick a ride ever again. I was becoming friends with a woman from Bible study. My husband and I went to her friend's New Year's Eve party. We would work out together. She had a cousin who was having a baby, and I gave her all our unneeded baby stuff, like $2,000 worth of strollers, crib, etc. As I am with all my friends, I was extremely generous. 6 months later, I learned she was fucking my husband. That I introduced to her. I am an engineering major and we had English linguistics class and we were given an essay to write. English isn't our first language, so many people struggled with that. I did mine way ahead of the deadline and a guy from my class asked me to write his on like the very last day. I wrote his essay out of sympathy. Submitted it. After a week we got an assignment to draw some figures and I suck at drawing, and that guy has his own Insta for sketching and arty stuff like that, and he did that assignment for 6 people but refused to do mine, saying boys will make fun of him for helping a girl. He wasn't ashamed to take my help, but has a problem in helping me. I really do hate that guy. Not sure if this counts. I was a long-term temp for a company last year. Sometimes one co-worker would bring in treats, breakfast, or candy for our 4-person team. So I started bringing stuff too. I would buy breakfast on random days for us. I worked really hard there and took a lot of initiative with projects. Being a team player didn't do anything for me though. One of the team members was constantly complaining that I was always on my phone. But every time I looked up from my work, she would be on hers. I tried to always be nice to her, but she still had influence on me being let go from my assignment. At my old job, I would usually be asked to stay until closing if I wasn't scheduled to. I would usually agree for the extra hours worth of money, so eventually they stopped asking. I would be scheduled to work until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and when I would announce that I was ready to leave, they would give me a confused look and say I was closing. I quit soon after that because I didn't like being taken advantage of. I still don't actually know if I was getting paid for those extra hours or not. I also had a friend once tell me that he couldn't trust me because I was too nice. I think that says more about him than it does about me, though. When I was at college we had to do a software development assignment. This was for an electronics engineering degree, and most people weren't that interested in writing software. I loved doing that stuff though and was good at it. So I ended up doing the assignments for 6 different students in class. I changed them all slightly so it didn't look like they were all just copies. I ended up with the worst mark on my own assignment. The other 6 students who handed in my assignment all got better marks than me. The professor said that he marked me down because it was obvious that I'd copied someone else's assignment. There was the story a while back where some dude tried to help a lady get her car working again. She later accused him falsely of sexual assault. Ruined his life. She was recently arrested and the man was set free. Some fucking kid I thought I was friends with needed a ride for his friend, who ended up being not his friend but a real hooker. He then stole money from my glove box and gave to her. And then later puked in my car while speedballing. Never saw that piece of shit again. When I was really young, in school the teachers said people should always be nice to everyone no matter what, and they also said treat people how you want to be treated. My 6-year-old logic: if I were nice to my main bully he would stop. What I did, I voted for my bully to be one of the school counselors and some other girl who I didn't really know, and guess what? Those exact people got chosen. What happened? The plan backfired and my bully ended up with more power. I was leaving a casino in downtown Vegas and held the door open for a couple coming in. Dude flipped out and called me FG for holding the door open for him, asked me if I thought I was tougher than him. I just kept walking but turned around to see him shirtless as his lady dragged him back inside. I got my younger sister a job at one of my older places of employment. I had left on good terms and was still friends with management, so they took her on pretty fast, for me, and I really appreciated it. Almost immediately I was told she was giving attitude, calling out like 30 minutes before her scheduled shifts, was complained about by customers when she did come into work. I was pissed because my old manager was the sweetest, most patient person ever and didn't deserve to have such a lazy employee like my sister. I found out why my sister was acting like this and was told by her that she had important raids, video game talk, to tend to and that she didn't like being told what to do and how to act. I know this sounds like an asshole move, but I told my old manager to just fire her, no second or third or fourth chances anymore, she deserved better than a lazy ass like my sister. When she fired her, all my sister said was "K, mail me my last check," and walked out the door, even when my old manager offered for her to stay for her scheduled shift that night. That was 2 years ago. Sister has had 4 jobs since then and has been fired by 2 and quit the others for the same reasons, and now just sits on her ass every day playing video games and eating shit foods. Good luck in the real world. I worked with 2 guys, Joe and Paul. Joe was incredibly nice, probably too nice, and well liked in the office. He was just a really good guy. Paul was kind of a socially toned a-hole and people didn't really like him very much. Paul mentioned he and his wife were moving to a new apartment in town and didn't have anyone to help with the move. Joe, being a nice guy, offered to help. So, Joe went over to Paul's place at 8 AM on a Saturday and worked his tail off until noon, when everything was done. Paul ordered some pizza for delivery once they were in the new place. The pizza guy came, Paul gave him $40 for the pizza and tip. After the guy left, Paul says to Joe, "You owe me $20 for the pizza." Joe kind of looked at him strangely and said, "Oh, I didn't think to bring any cash with me today." Paul goes, "That's fine, Joe, you can give it to me at work on Monday." Joe left and was like WTF. But was too nice to say anything to Paul. Joe mentioned the story to Melanie, another co-worker, who was not as nice as Joe, and a busybody too. You'd better believe that Melanie marched right up to Paul and said, "Paul, Joe told me that after he helped you move his entire apartment for 4 hours on a Saturday morning that you asked him for $20 for pizza. You should have paid him. What is wrong with you?" Paul's response: "Well, he did eat the pizza." Melanie just rolled her eyes and realized there's just no helping some people. Joe never did give Paul the $20 and he also never offered to help Paul with anything again. Paul was pretty disliked prior to this, but he became a total pariah afterward. He ended up leaving the company about 6 months later. Bye-bye, Paul.